नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. All right, we started the journey of Bharatam with Ambopakyanam, the story of Amba. Then we went on to the description of the greatness of Mahabharatam, which we heard. Today we are going to the story post Bhishma Pratigya. In the earlier class, we came to hear the episodes relating to the composition of Bharatam with Vyasa dictating the Bharatam and Ganesha writing the Bharatam, and the fact that there was a conditionality attached to it. Ganesha had said, I will continue writing so long as you don't pause anywhere in between. If you pause anywhere in between, then I will stop writing. And then Vyasa had said, that is fine, but you should write only every verse only which if you understand it. If you don't understand it, till you understand it, you should not write the next verse. So that was the deal. So every 1000th verse or so, Vyasa was giving a complex verse, which is very difficult to understand. So Pullayar used to knock his head with that verse, and by the time he understood it, another 1000 verses he would have composed in his mind, and then he used to dictate the next 1000. So he used to get some breathing time by every 1000th verse or so by giving what is called by the Grantha Granthi or Vyasa Kuttu. Kuttu verses they are called. They are supposed to be 8800 verses, such verses in Bharatam. Now I was curious about the Kuttu verses, whether they are documented. These are the Kuttu verses, at least. I have not quickly found them, but they are there. And by chance, yesterday there was a class that I was attending with Krishnamurti Shastrigal, and he mentioned one Kuttu verse. So he said there is this verse, Kanchi Periva, Mahaperiva, Paramacharya. I had asked him, I think, he had asked him, saying, you know the Kuttu verses? So he said, I know what Kuttu verses are. These are ones that Pullayar had to pause because he didn't quickly understand. He said, yes, do you know there is a Kuttu shlokam in Bhagavad Gita? So he said, no. Bhagavad Gita is part of Bharatam, so somewhere in Gita also it is possible that there is a Kuttu verse. So it is there. No, it's okay, I'll tell you the verse. The verse is like this. Ajnanena vritam te jnanam tena mukhyanti jantavah jnanena tutara jnanam yesham nashitamatmanah tesham adityavad jnanam prakashayati tatparam. So the verse means Ajnanena avritam jnanam tena mukhyanti jantavah. Jnana, knowledge means self-knowledge, supreme knowledge, is covered by Ajnana. Ajnana is covering Jnana, and therefore all the creatures of the world are deluded. Tena mukhyanti jantavah. So this basic way we all live is in that delusion. Believing the body to be I, believing the world to be real, all that is a part of this delusion that we are living in. So why is this delusion? Ajnanena avritam jnanam. The self-knowledge is covered by ajnanam. The verse goes to say, Jnanena tu tad ajnanam yesham nashitam atmanah tesham adityavat jnanam prakashayati tatparam. So for those in whose self, in Atma, so to say, the Ajnanam has been destroyed by Jnanam. There, like the sun, Adityavat Jnanam Prakashayati Tatparam. Like the sun, the Jnana then illuminates or makes you realize or see or experience or whatever you want to call it, the Param, the Brahman, that supreme reality. So, it's a complex one. See, after all, we are talking about a Kuttu verse. Huh? So, it's not going to be easy. I don't understand what I am telling you, but I am just relating to you as I have read it. Okay? So to say, it's not easy. So this verse, the Pullayar heard, he said, my God, wait a minute. Ajnana is covering jnana. So all the world is deluded, we can see. Then you are saying that jnana, for those whom that jnana destroys that ajnana, then there is the supreme realization, etc. Right? Adityavat jnanam. Now, if ajnana is so powerful that it covers jnana, then how can jnana destroy ajnana? I mean, doesn't stand to reason. Right? So, to give a crude example, if a snake is swallowing a frog, and the question is, how are we going to remedy the situation? He says, we can be remedied. The frog has to kill the snake. Okay. Damn snake is swallowing the frog. It's swallowed it. Avritam. Ajnana being so powerful that it has covered jnanam. If you say jnanam has to destroy ajnanam, how is that possible? Why, if it is so easy, then why should the ajnana be able to cover jnanam in the first place? I mean, it can't. So we have to understand why this is there. So the answer to this, apparently, is given later by the time Pullayar was thinking through, he had composed the next 1,000 and delivered the dictation. So the answer comes in this slokam that I told you comes 5th chapter, answer comes in the 10th chapter. So in the 10th chapter there is a verse, Tesha manukampartham ahamagyānajam tamah nāshayāmi ātmabhāvastha jnānadīpena bhāsvata. So for such people, anukampartham, out of compassion, aham ajnānajam tamah nāshayāmi, I, meaning God, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Paramatma, the Jnana Swarupa, I destroy the ajnana, the darkness of ajnana. How? Atma bhastam jnanadīpena bhāsvata. Now here lies the complexity of this topic, so to say. It's like this, there is a sun. Adityavat was word used in the previous verse. The Adityavat was used in the verse, the Kuttu verse that I mentioned, like the sun. The sun lights up. The sun, if there is a piece of cotton on the ground, the sun will not burn that cotton. Cotton will dry. If it is wet, it will dry. But if you focus with the lens, it will burn. Likewise, while all vritti is essentially still powered by the self, it is when it is focused through this dhyana, vichara, marga, that it burns the ajnana. This is what Kanchi Parivar told him as the meaning of that Kuttu verse. So I thought we'll start with that today, the Kuttu verse from Gita that Mahapariva told Krishnamurti Shastrigal. Now we'll come back to our story in Bharatam. Today we are going to that stage where Bhishma Pratigya has happened. So we have Shantanu. Shantanu is now married to Satyavati. He has found out all of that. The terrible pratigya that his elder son has made. And he has given him a blessing. He has given him 2 blessings. He has been heartbroken himself, but he has given him 2 blessings. 1, death will approach you only when you want, my son. 2, the whole world will do Tarpanam, Shraddham for you. For all time to come. Which we do on Ratha Saptami day. Now this Shantanu is married to Satyavati. He's happy and they have a son. The first son is named Chitrangada. Then after that son grows up and after some years, when he's a very young boy, that time he has another son, his name is Vichitravirya. 2 sons Shantanu has. So brother Bhishma has got 2 younger brothers now. Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. When these 2 sons had not yet the elder had not yet become a youth, so to say. At that time, the younger was very much a small baby, so to say. At that time, Shantanu died. Kala dharma mupayivan. Swargavasa of Shantanu. Bhishma, he did all the Pretakaryam and all that. And then with the consent of Satyavati, Satyavati is the queen mother. Satyavati is not an ordinary person. So with her consent, he is doing everything with her consent. He is like the power of attorney. She is the queen. So with her consent, he makes the elder son Chitrangada the king. So now Chitrangada is the king, or crown prince, if you may, right now, whatever you want to call. He's a ruler. Chitrangada, terrific valor and all that. But then he had a small problem. He was a very, he got that position. He's the king of the land. He's very proud of himself and very arrogant. Proud of his valor, arrogant man. He used to treat all other kings with disrespect. Who is this fellow? Like that, all other kings. And not just kings. He started doing tiraskara, this disrespect, etc. Even devatas. Who are they? So Chitrangada was like that. Then one day there came a Gandharva who had the name Chitrangada as well. The Chitrangada Gandharva came looking for the Chitrangada, the king, and said, "Listen, prince, tum vai sadrishanamasi yuddham dehi nripatmaja namachanyat prakrindichva yad yuddham nadasyasi. Tum vai sadrishanamasi yuddham dehi nripatmaja namachanyat prakrindichva yad yuddham nadasyasi." This Chitrangada said, "Listen, you have got my name. So, either you change the name, I don't want you to go around carrying my name, or you battle with me. We'll see. Then it's a valid point. How can you have my name? Right? It's a Gandharva king. Your having my name is waste, he says. Waste you are carrying my name. Anybody who carries my name, you cannot go scot-free and happy. I have come to challenge you." Chitrangada is a powerful, valorous king. So they battle. Night and day they battle for 3 years by the banks of Saraswati. They are battling. And that battle, Chitrangada, the Gandharva, he knows Maya tactics and all that. He's a Gandharva king. So he kills Chitrangada, the prince. So he is gone, he is dead. That leaves Vichitravirya, young boy. He is a child, however, with Satyavati's consent. advice, suggestion, whatever, blessing. Bhishma coronates this young boy as the king to be, prince, in whose name the land will be ruled until he comes of age, then he will be the king. So basically Bhishma will do the ruling until that boy comes to be of that age. Everything will be done with his name, proper way. So he will be trained to be the king. So this Vichitravirya is getting proper training by Bhishma. Bhishma, the greatest of Dharmishthas. And this boy showed all respect to Bhishma, and Bhishma protected him from in every way, it seems. The young boy is the king. So many people will try to influence him in so many ways, but Bhishma protected him in every which way. Then that boy came of age, he became a young man, and Bhishma and, of course, Satyavati decided it's time to get him married. We must look for a suitable bride for Vichitravirya, the king. So at that time, the Kashi Raja, we started with Ambopakyanam, now it will be only in brief, that was in more detail, but here in brief, Kashi Raja, the king of Kashi. So Kashi has got a very core relationship to Mahabharata. This is the king of Kashi, who had these three daughters, Amba, Ambika and Ambalika, three daughters, for whom he was arranging a Swayamvara. So all kings' invitations had gone. Come and my daughters will choose their husband to be. So that happened, so that came. So Satyavati told Bhishma, and Bhishma said, fine, I'll take care of this one. So he went to the Swayamvara. It was in Varanasi, Kashi. And by the time he reached there, I think, when he reached there, the Swayamvara had just started. The hall was full of kings, it seems. Kings from all over the land had come. These three girls are supposed to be very beautiful, like Apsaras and all that. Kashi Raja's king. So their beauty was well known throughout the land. So the prince worth his name, king worth his name, had come there to try their hand. So this Bhishma also entered that hall. That time all the introduction, the three girls were there, and every king was being introduced to them, saying this is the king, this is his greatness, this is his valor, this is his lineage, these are the things that he has done, qualifications, all of that one by one the kings are being named and introduced to those three girls and the father, saying all of that was going on, and Bhishma entered that hall. Now Bhishma enters the hall. Now there is a presence, of the person. So there will be a pause. Hey, who is come? So he enters the hall. Now he is not exactly a young suitor. His younger brother, who was so many 20, 30 years younger to him, or maybe 35 years younger to him, is the guy for whose sake he has come. Now he probably is in his 40s or somewhere that age, 50, going towards that. Young man, all right. But not so young. So he's there, he enters the hall. So when he enters the hall, the three girls, they are 16. 16-year-old three princesses looking forward to this day in their lives. My God, what a day. Swayamvara and all that. Each of them can pick from these kings whom they want. It's not that all three have to get married to the same person. They can decide, I this, you this, three. They see, my God, this old man has walked in. So they have one look at this grey-haired man, this guy, and quickly they sense what, I don't know, they leave the hall. Okay, they go away from that side, or at least they move away. These kings watch, see who has come. Kim Karanamiha, they see this elderly man. I mean, they know Bhishma. Everybody knows Bhishma. Who doesn't know Bhishma? But Bhishma has come there. His face has got wrinkles and he's got grey hair and beard also grey is there. Man comes in. So they are talking among each other. Kim Karanamiha yato nirlajjo bharatarshava मिथ्या प्रतिज्ञो लोकेषु किं वदिष्यति भारत ब्रह्मचारीति भीष्मो हि वृथैव प्रतितो भुवि. He said, this person, this Bhishma, he has come, he is a shameless fellow. He has come here for this Swayamvara. His pratigya, world famous pratigya that he gave, I will be a celibate throughout my life, etc. Mithya, all lies. All lies. He has made this pratigya. Why would he do that? Brahmachari iti Bhishma, he is brahmachari, etc. Whole world says Bhishma is a brahmachari, Naitika brahmachari, throughout life he will be a brahmachari, all that. He has come to this Swayamvara, so these kings have one look at him, etc., and they generally talk to each other, and there's a general laughter, it seems. Ha ha ha. Bhishma, they're looking at him and laughing at him. No, Bhishma is not exactly an object that you should laugh at. He gets angry. I mean, you don't laugh at Bhishma. So he's come there, he's got something in mind, and he finds these three girls are walking the way, and these people are all laughing, and he decides that action is necessary now. So he moves decisively, he goes where those three girls are, he picks them up and puts them in his chariot. Just takes them and puts them in his chariot. Then he turned towards the whole audience, these kings, and he announces loudly in a Gambhira voice. He says, hold it, all of you. Learned people have, in our traditions, have described different ways by which a vivaha can take place. There is one which is called the Brahma Vivaha, where the girl's father invites a suitable boy, groom, who is well versed in the Vedas, who has got good gunas, is a gunaman, and offers his daughter to him along with good vastra, abhushana, dhana, good dress, good ornaments, and some wealth. He gives his daughter to the suitable groom who is well versed in Vedas, is a man of good qualities, boy of good qualities. That's a Brahma Vivaha. 2. There is the Arsha Vivaha, where the Rishi Vivaha, where the boy comes to the girl's father and offers a pair of cow, a pair of bull. These only two cows, 2 bulls he offers, and seeks the daughter's hand and is given the daughter. Arsha Vivaha. 3rd, the man comes, gives money to the daughter's father, literally purchases, gives that money to the girl's father, and then the daughter is given in marriage to him. Dowry of the man. The earlier times, the dowry was always from the boy's side to the girl's side, never the other way. There's this great scholar, professor, great man called Vireenathan, who in his recollection was telling about one time with Paramacharya many years ago, may have been in the 50s or 60s or something, 19. So somewhere in Tamil Nadu, he was, one fine day he told just in the afternoon that today, he said something to the effect that he will be giving a upanyasa today, a talk in the evening, and to please make all arrangements. So he had conveyed that, he had gone for his puja, immediately the machinery got working. All the, maybe that day or next day, whenever the upanyasa was, all the notices had gone out that Kanchi Paramacharya is going to give Anugraha Bhashanam to all the villages nearby, the towns nearby, etc. People are, by the time evening the time came, thousands of people are waiting to hear the Anugraha Bhashanam of Paramacharya. He is going to speak. So what is the expectation? Paramacharya will come, he will speak for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. So we have all, everybody is come, prepared for that. So he came at the right time, he got onto the stage and he spoke. He said, I want to tell you 4 things. All of you should live a simple life. Should lead a simple life. 2. Do not wear silk. 3. Do not accept dowry. Do not ask for or take dowry. 4. If you have in your house young daughters coming of age, etc., if you go out in the evening, send some elder with them and please ensure they come back in time home. That's what I wanted to tell you all. Narayana, 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 Narayana. He got down from stage. 3 minutes he had, 2 minutes he had finished that Anugrah Bhashanam. Oh, everybody waiting 1 hour, he'll talk something, he'll talk. 4, he came off. So people had realized talk is over. It's gone. So they went. So who is going to ask Parmacharya why you did this? Nobody. You cannot go and ask Acharya. Then later he asked, it seems, were people dissatisfied that I didn't speak much to somebody who was close to him there, to the madam. So he asked one of the. So that person said, Ama, even I was dissatisfied. What to talk of others? The Acharya didn't speak much. He said, no. You see, in all these years, the number of leaders that I have met, who can say, most of the leaders have met me. So many people I have been talking to. So many scholars have discussed with me. And they give me certificate that he speaks well. But in all these years, what I have said, has anybody listened? Nobody has listened. So I thought, like hitting a nail in the wall, I'll tell 4 things. At least that may register. That is why I said. Vaidyanathan says, he said that. But the point I came here was, he said, don't take dowry. That was one of the 4. Now here, coming back here, Bhishma is announcing. So this, where the boy's side comes and gives money so that the girl is given to him in marriage, is called Asura Vidya. Then there is this Vivaha, where you go and basically kill the family of the girl, kill everybody, kidnap that girl, take her away and force her, get married. That's called Rakshasa Vivaha. Rakshasa Vivaha. Ravana was perfect in that. Then the well accepted form of marriage, where the boy meets girl meets boy, they like each other, they don't care who else likes them, they run away, they get married. It's called Gandharva Vivaha. Love marriage. Gandharva Vivaha. Then there's something which is called Paishacha Vivaha, ghost Vivaha, where that girl is either intoxicated or she's unconscious and she's lying, or she's in coma, or the one problem is there and this fellow forces himself. That's called Paishacham. Then there's Prajapatyam, 8th one, where the father, no, this is the 7th one, the father with the due, gives the girl a due honor to the boy, and the boy and the girl promise that they will follow the Grihastha Dharma together. It's called Prajapatya. And then there is Daiva, the 8th one, where there is a yajna organized, and in that yajna organized, whoever is the Ritvik, the priest there, to him the daughter is given. So there are 8 types. So this, Bhishma is announcing, these are 8 types of vivahas that are, these are there, valid types. Of these, for Kshatriyas, Swayamvara is praised. And even in Swayamvara, when competing kings are defeated and the girl is taken away, that is Shrestha. Where it's called Virya Shulkam. So the boy is giving dowry to the girl's father in the form of valor. You know, Kshatriya. Kshatriya says, I am stronger. I am the best Kshatriya around. That is the dowry that he gives to the girl's father, his valor. so to say. So he says, that is the Shrestha. Now I am going to take away these girls from here. You can stop me. All of you can do it together. You can all try and stop me. I am going. I am taking them away. And he set off in his chariot. The kings were not prepared for battle. Right now they had come all decked up and all for the Swayamvara. Yeah? So they had all best jewelry, ornaments and this, that, etc. Yeah? Once in a year probably they bring out that jewelry. Only for the Swayamvara they are wearing it. That girl should see that jewelry and say, this man. All this. Now this man is taking off. So it seems immediately they all started to take off the jewelry, put on the armor, get their weapons, get the chariot, etc. to go and fight with him. Meanwhile, it's all happening. The ornaments are there. They don't know how to take it off properly. They need people to help them to put it on, take it off and all that. These are not easy things to do. So it's all falling all over there. It's in the floor is littered with ornaments which are falling as if stars are falling from the sky. They are all on the ground. Hither and thither they are lying on earth. They are so jumping. They are getting into chariots and they are all running behind, telling Bhishma, "Hey, stop! You stop!" They are shouting at him, running behind him in the chariots. And there are many of them, so many hundreds of them. They are trying to converge upon him, etc. They are gnashing their teeth. They are slapping their shoulders. All of that, making sounds. And then they are chasing him. And there is a Mahabhayankar Sangramam battle that happens between them and Bhishma. Deadly battle between them. And they are all surrounding him and shooting arrows at him non-stop. And Bhishma is so skilled. He is Bhishma. His guru was Parasurama. He knows every celestial weapon that there is. He's the greatest among warriors. What could they have done, the Pandavas have done, had Krishna not been with them in the battle? They could not have taken on Bhishma. That Bhishma, these 100 kings, etc., were surrounding, they were shooting arrows at him and all of that. But he systematically destroyed each one of them. He just taking them one by one, they were all at super speed, he was hitting all of them. And then there was one king among them, the king is called Shalva Raja. He had an axe to grind. There was one girl he liked among these three, whatever it was. So, he was specially fighting and he chased Bhishma and shouted at him saying, don't go, I am coming. So then Bhishma stopped his chariot, turned around saying, who's this fellow? And then he turned his chariot and made his chariot move towards this Shalva. Okay, come. And they had a terrific fight. And in that fight, Bhishma shot his Sarathi, he shot his flag, he shot his horses, he shot the weapons out of his hand, and Shalva could do nothing but get down and go back, retreat, go away from the battlefield. He went back to his kingdom. He just couldn't handle Bhishma. So Bhishma went, he took these three girls home to Hastinapura, gave them to his mother, Satyavati, saying, there you are. The three girls from Kashi for Vichitravirya. Anayamasa Kashyasya Sutah Sagaraga Sutah Snusha Iva Sadarmatma Bhaginiri Vachanujaha. Sagaraga Sutah is the way Vyasa refers to Bhishma here. Sagaraga means she who goes to the sea, which is Ganga. Sutah, son. Ganga's son. Bhishma. He brought these three girls. How did he treat them when he brought them? Snushaiva sadharmatma bhaginiriva chanujaha. Dharmatma that he was, he treated them like Snushaiva, like daughters-in-law. Bhaginiriva, like his younger sisters. Or like his own daughters. Like that, he brought the three of them and submitted them to Satyavati and to Vichitravirya for wedding. He handed them over. And on Satyavati's nod, he immediately started making preparations for the wedding that has to take place. And these girls came to know that they are going to get married to Bhishma's brother, that is Vichitravirya, who is the prince, the king of the land. Bhishma is only the regent, or whatever you want to call that, the one who is ruling on his behalf. But now he's come of age, he's king. So among these three girls, the eldest was Amba. So Amba told Bhishma that I need to have a word with you. He said, yes. She said, Dharmatma, I have in my heart already chosen Shalvaraja as my pati, as my husband. And he too has earlier expressed his love for me. Moreover, my father knows about it. And he is also interested in this alliance. And sir, as a matter of fact, on that day in Swayamvara, it was my full intention to garland him, to choose him. So please, keeping all this in mind, please think through. And then act according to what you think is the right thing to do. Properly she tells Bhishma. Bhishma said, Acha bhaiya. Now. So he said, all right. So he himself is a Dharmatma, but he called the counselors who are well versed in Shastras, etc., spoke to them, saying what is the right thing to do. So they all agreed, and then he said, yeah. He said, we'll allow you to go to Shalvaraja. You don't have to get married to Vichitravirya. I'll send people. So he escorted her with elderly counselors, saying, Bhishma is sending this girl whom you have already expressed love, and she wants to get married to you, not to Vichitravirya. So we are sending her to you. So with that message, he sent her off in a chariot to Shalvaraja. Tatoh pani grihitva tu rupayavvana darshita Vichitravirya Dharmatma. So now these other two girls, Ambika and Ambalika, they were married to Vichitravirya as per Shastra Vidhi, proper king's wedding. Like you see nowadays in England, etc. Prince getting married, like that. Wedding, king's wedding. So these two were married to this, and then Vichitravirya Dharmatma Kamatma Samapadyata. A young Rupa Yauvana Darpitaha. They were beautiful, he was handsome. They were proud of their looks, he was proud of his looks, he was proud of his youth, they were proud of their youth. These who, Vichitravirya, Ambika and Ambalika, all of them were at that age very, very happy. So this Vichitravirya then became a Kamatma. He became fully involved in Kama with these two young 16-year-old brides of his. He was himself as handsome as an Ashwini Kumara, says Vyasa. Then there were these two girls. So he was passionate about them. They reciprocated the passion. So it was apparently 7 years non-stop. He spent all his time with them. 7 years. Fully, he was only with them. After 7 years, he contracted tuberculosis. He died. The doctors tried to save him, the best of doctors, they tried, but they couldn't save him. He died. Bhishma was grief-stricken himself. Satyavati was broken. Both her sons gone. She was Deena, she was Kripana, she was broken-hearted. Down, very depressed. She had to coordinate all the Pretakaryam of the son, Vichitravirya, those two widows, brides, along with them. Yet she had to do all that. Then, after all that was done, there was a problem, so she was thinking deeply about dharma. Then she called Bhishma for a discussion and she told him, son, we have a problem. Your father Shantanu's Pinda his kirti, his vamsha, all is dependent on you. Who is to offer Shraddha Pindam to Shantanu? Who is to ensure that his glory stays forever? Who is to ensure that his dynasty, his vamsha, his family lineage continues? There's nobody else. Both the sons have died. You are the only other son. Everything depends is now dependent on you. In your hands alone, son. Yatha karma shubham kritva Swargopagamam dhruvam yatha chayur dhruvam satye tvai dharmas tatha dhruva. Son, just as it is certain that a person who does all his duties properly, auspiciously, correctly, is definite to achieve Swargalokam, dhruvam. It is certain. Similarly, just as somebody who speaks the truth, who is absolutely a Satyavan, he will live long, just as that is certain. And similarly, it is absolutely certain that in you there is dharma, she tells Bhishma. And you know dharma, and you know as much as Shukracharya and Brihaspati. What is the dharma to be followed in times of distress? And so, O greatest of dharmishthas, I am going to give you an important task, an important responsibility. Please listen first to what I say, and then it would be right for you to do as I have said. She is a queen. Huh? What she says gets done. Rajmata, they say, in North. Powerful figure. She says, first listen, and then after listening, it would be right for you to act in the way I have told you. My son, your time now. We'll continue from here on this next week. Haranama Parvati Pataye Janaki Kanta Smaranam Gopika Jivana Smaranam Vetrivel Muruganak Shri Sadguru Swamina Shri Anjaneya Swamina